Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Please, if you would be so kind as to give a nice, warm high five to the person who is seated next to you and tell them, CHASP at 5, CHASP at 5, CHASP at 5. And also to break up the mood a little bit, I want to give you 30 seconds. Have a 30 seconds with the person who is seated next to you and tell them the things that you have achieved in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years. Have a conversation. Talk to them. Let them know what you have achieved in the last 5 years. In the last 5 years, some got married, some started a business, some are celebrating, and that is why we are here. Thank you very much. I would like to officially welcome you to the CHASP Advisory 5-year celebration. My name is Ian Moirore, and I am going to be your moderator for this particular event. We are glad and honored to be here to celebrate this amazing and fantastic milestone of getting here, 5 years anniversary celebration, and we appreciate the CHASP team. Please, even before we start, let's put our hands together as we appreciate the CHASP team with a warm round of applause. 5-year celebration. It is quite a fantastic feat. Ladies and gentlemen, even before we start off and also calling up the first speaker, I would like to draw your attention to the screen so that we can be able to appreciate CHASP, the journey, and also why we are here.
Africa is a continent of unparalleled beauty and resilience. Yet burdened by an enduring challenge: poverty. The roots of poverty in Africa run deep, stemming from a complex interplay of historical injustices, economic inequalities, and systemic challenges. In particular, social services and healthcare systems struggle to keep pace, leaving millions without access to basic necessities and exposed to the effects of poverty. That's where we at CHASP Advisory find our motivation. As a think tank, we focus on generating evidence to support crucial development and humanitarian investments in Africa. We work with governments and development agencies to collect, analyze, and transform data into actionable insights. With these insights, we drive innovation and accelerate progress in the delivery of social protection, health, and nutrition programs. At CHASP Advisory, we are not just about data. We're about making data work for people, enhancing lives, and fostering sustainable development. Our efforts are strategically aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals. Over 5 years, we have worked with 32 partners to deliver 142 specific assignments in Kenya, Uganda, Somalia, Rwanda, and Namibia. Our reach has extended even further, with projects extending beyond sub-Saharan Africa to Latin America. At CHASP Advisory, we generate data-driven evidence through key pillars of our work, including research, evidence and data visualization, monitoring, evaluation and learning, innovations in global health and social protection, training and capacity development, program design and strategy, and technical assistance in the implementation of social protection programs. Our contribution to the knowledge and practice of social protection in the Horn of Africa region has been significant. We have developed social protection policies, supported sector reviews, developed country social protection strategies, developed program manuals and operational frameworks, supported targeting, supported the development of social registries, and built digital solutions that improve the delivery and management of social assistance programs. The initiatives we work on underscore our commitment to inclusive development and sustainable impact. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to all who share our commitment to enhancing evidence-based solutions in social protection and global health programs. Together, we are making strides towards transforming data into impactful action and driving positive change across Africa. Join us in transforming data into action, leveraging its power to improve lives and foster sustainable development across Africa. Contact us today. CHASP Advisory, ideating, building and growing social policy and public health options.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we want to start off with the program and to open up the floor for us, ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege and the honor of inviting a man who has the responsibility and also the expertise, over 15 years of experience in diverse public health, social protection, and livelihood program. He is seasoned when it comes to the monitoring and evaluation of the same. These programs, ladies and gentlemen, have a key focus in the rural and also humanitarian environments in the Horn of Africa. He is responsible for leading CHASP Global Strategy, and this man, ladies and gentlemen, dedicates his time to the industry innovation and also establishing the new business lines under CHASP Advisory Group. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a leader par excellence and an entrepreneur extraordinaire. He is the global director at CHASP Advisory. Please help me appreciate with a warm round of applause Mr. Omondi Otieno as he comes forward to open floor to us. Welcome and congratulations in advance. Thank you once again. Welcome.
Yeah, and I don't know who you just introduced by the way. But yeah, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Good. Thank you so much. I have, in person, waited for this day for the last 5 years. I think my colleagues have worked tirelessly to ensure we have this day today, and we started having this conversation at the beginning of the year. We are extremely humbled that one, you have taken your time to join us in the celebration of our 5th anniversary today, but most importantly, that all of you in this room, in one way or the other, has contributed to the growth of the organization. So it is our day today. And normally there is a law saying which loosely translates into you do not get drunk silly on your own party, right? When in your party you try to be disciplined because then you have to ensure that all the other guests are taken care of. So I will not spend a lot of time today, but first I would like to really, ladies and gentlemen, thank an amazing team, before I even say anything else, an amazing team of people that I have worked with. And my colleagues at CHASP, could you please rise up? Ladies and gentlemen, join me in applauding this amazing team. I will take a bit of time, Buona PS, if you allow me. I will take a bit of time while they're still upstanding to just quickly introduce them. I think it's important because they have made CHASP what it is right now. They have made this journey possible, and they have made it extremely easy for me to lead them. So I definitely owe them so much. So in no particular order, I will begin from my extreme left. From my extreme left, that gentleman is called Bishar, right? Bishar is the coordinator, county coordinator from Wajir, right? So he's leading all our operations in Wajir. Then the next gentleman is called Paul. I will particularly just go with single names, not because I can't remember them, but I'm trying to make it easy for you to remember them. So that gentleman is called Paul. Paulo Mole, I have known Paul as I guess since my youth. Sometimes when you grow up, you do things with the people that you grew up with. In many years ago, relax. Yeah, but of importance, other than many other things, I think straight out of high school, as we were getting idle to figure out what to do next. If anyone who grew up around my time knew between high school and university, you would take about 2 years just lounging at home, doing absolutely nothing. And Paul and myself formed a youth group called the League of Young Friends. That was many, many years ago, I think in 1998 or thereabout. So yeah, so I've known that gentleman for far too long, is our head of practice. So basically, sort of like my deputy. So if I'm not there at CHASP, you definitely will find Paul. We went different paths, but our paths converged again, and now I'm very, very happy and honored to have worked with him. Then Abdullahi. Abdullahi works with us in Mandera. So all our county-based work in Mandera, Abdullahi. The gentleman next to him joined us as an intern. His name is Mike. Mike is our practice associate and equally county coordinator for Garissa. Yeah, the other gentleman. And that gentleman, Ian, with whom we have worked again just about 5 years, the length of the organization, supports our IT. When we were building that website, and when appears that website that you have seen, I'm sure you have, and which hasn't changed, I built that website from Ian's house, right? Sometimes we would make late night trips to his house, and we would just ensure that it comes to shape. So if you interact with that amazing website, that is the gentleman that actually is behind it and continues to support our IT since. The very well-dressed gentleman is called Kipto. Kipto is our head of finance. I'll try to move a bit quick. Again, Kipto has worked with us for for 5 years. Again, right from the start. Then you have Jeremy. Jeremy leads our work in Marsabit County. Then we have behind Jeremy there is who? Leah. So Leah is our head of people and culture, right? She is our HR. So basically ensuring that whatever HR does. Brian leads our team in all our programs in Turkana. I think he's also amongst the teams, one of the few people who recently joined. John Irungu supports Isiolo, and then next to John there is Judy, who supports Tana River. So we basically, if you notice by that geography, we have a much heavier presence in the Asal region because we'd like to identify ourselves with humanitarian work. There's a gentleman that just came in, supports business development, and his name is Joram, and I think there are a couple of others that are out. There are two over there. So there is Derek Betts. Derek Betts, head of business development, works very closely with Joram, but also supports programs whenever his hands are free. And then the one lady who is responsible for everything here and who has been in contact with you, and that's Deborah Meto, and definitely she's been a great addition to the team. So ladies and gentlemen, that is who we are, and I'm extremely happy to have had this team to get us this far. So let's, as they sit down, please clap for them one more time. So yeah, so in about 1 minute, I think the story of CHASP is a story of basically it's a story of a vision. And I will try and see if I can tell it in about 3 minutes, right, max. It's a story that began in 2018, largely off of myself, who had spent his entire career in the development sector. I felt the need to do something different, so I got into consulting, and I started consulting as an individual. But then it got to a point where there was a lot of work. So there are points when I would turn down work because I was basically crowded. Yeah, there was too much to handle. So many times, whilst in the midst of one assignment, I would get requests for other assignments, and I would have to push them back because I can only take in so much. Now, what that made me feel is that there is definitely an opportunity out there, that is on the one hand, but also that there was a chance for me to then set up a team so that I'm able to transfer those skills and possibly even take up a lot more work. And that is how then CHASP was founded in 2018. So within that year, I mean, we set up very, very ambitiously, had an office, moved in, set up the capitalization, just like any of us when you're setting up a business. And then there was COVID, right? And the small team that we had at the time, we definitely had to scatter the team because we did not have resources. But there is something that COVID did, and that is to bring to the attention of the world, of governments, the impotence of social protection. So after COVID, there was so much to do. So having sent the team out around 2020, working from home, there was flurry of activity. Namibia was looking to set up a social protection program to basically widen that safety net. Kenya was struggling with the design of niche at the time, and they did not know who to bring on board. And there were all these opportunities, and they just started trickling in one after the other because of increased investment in social policy, purely triggered by COVID, right? So that right there was our opportunity. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have never looked back since, right? So what we have done is, in 2021, and I'm saying this very, 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 very proudly, UNICEF, the first organization that took a leap of faith, and the largest leap of faith in CHASP was actually UNICEF. So having seen the amount of work we put into the design of niche, and there were small assignments, small contracts, but for which we were grateful nonetheless, UNICEF took a leap of faith and gave us our first, I would say, George, the largest contract of the time, and I think we really smiled, right? I would say it was 30 million. I'm open to say that, right? So the first largest contract was 30 million from UNICEF. And that vote of confidence is something that we forever will stay grateful for, right? We have never looked back. The good thing is, working with this team, and at this point, I would like to introduce this gentleman here. His name is Lucas Mosenda Chacha. Some of you may have interacted with him in this room. So at that very critical point of expansion, because we had the responsibility to target for UNICEF and government by extension. At that point, it was just myself, I think a lady called Mebo and Kipto, just very few of us. And we had to expand the team very, very rapidly. And at that point, Lucas joined, and he was extremely useful in trying to midwife that level, that point of growth. And Lucas, for that, we thank you so much. Lucas has since left us. He is the CEC member for agriculture, livestock, and cooperatives for the county government of Migori, right? Of CHASP. So we are definitely very proud of him, right? So such has been the journey. We have, like I said, we have never looked back. We have had our own struggles as an organization. One of the things that generally happens with an organization that is growing rapidly fast is that sometimes your systems don't just adjust that fast, right? So you have this growth of portfolio, but then you're struggling with internal systems. You're struggling with internal mechanisms of managing people and managing culture and managing for compliance. And that is something that I again go back to the team and say they have been extremely very, very, very supportive in terms of patience with us as we grow. We have had to build systems as we go along. We are at the point where we are confident that we definitely are sitting on a path of growth, and we definitely are hoping that we keep that fire burning. So with that, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I hope, Ian, that there is going to come a time when I possibly get to say thank you in person to a lot of us sitting in this room. Blandina, you're welcome. Oxfam, one of those very, very few organizations that took a leap of faith in CHASP, and here we are. So I hope there's going to come a time when I get to say that, I think, to a lot of us. But then we are extremely grateful for you, ladies and gentlemen, who are here, for having been with us through this journey. We hope you stay on with us for the next 10 years, because we need you to be able to get to the next point. What that next point looks like, I will be happy to talk about at some point. So, and again, Ian, I think at the tail end is something we possibly could speak to. Now, that having been said, about a year ago, I met a brother of mine, right? Who has been absolutely nothing but supportive. He has opened doors for us at CHASP. He has always spoken about CHASP when CHASP is not in the room, and he is one of the very, very few people that I really look up to as my elder brother, and I definitely really look up to as a role model. So sometimes we, sometimes that relationship is twisted because he also calls me his teacher sometimes, but then he remains my elder brother nonetheless, and that is no one than the PS for social protection, and I would love to welcome him now to officially open this function.
Thank you so much. Banomondo Tiano, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, friends of CHASP Advisory, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Happy birthday, CHASP. It's our 5th birthday, isn't it? Happy birthday, CHASP. How old are you now? How old are you now? Happy birthday, dear CHASP. Happy birthday to you. I hope that will be done later. I don't know how to sing it, but my daughter sings it to me. Yes, why I had to ask Banomondi that I make a few remarks is that I have another engagement after this one. So I asked him that I could make a few remarks and then run away. So when you see me running away, please don't think that is the end of the ceremony. I'm sure there will be a cake somewhere to be cut. I'll not have the opportunity to get it. So it is a honor to join you today in celebrating CHASP Advisory's 5th anniversary. This milestone reflects the dedication and innovative spirit of CHASP Advisory. I am pleased to be here as the guest today. I really don't think I deserved to be called a guest because I'm more one and the same of CHASP. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has made a significant progress in social protection over the years. Our commitment to the welfare of our citizens, especially the most vulnerable, has been steadfast. Allow me to highlight some key achievements that social protection has done. The first one, which is quite common and which we are identical with, is our cash transfer. And out of what has been presented here, I thought this was part of my State Department, because exactly what was projected here in the screen is what we do as a State Department for Social Protection. Our cash transfer programs are among the most notable success in Kenya as a social protection landscape. Programs such as the Older Persons Cash Transfer, the Orphans and Vulnerable Children Cash Transfer, and the Persons with Severe Disabilities Cash Transfer provide regular financial assistance to targeted groups. These initiatives have significantly reduced poverty and improved the quality of life for many beneficiaries. Ladies and gentlemen, for those who work with me, like my director here of NSPS, will tell you that people know social protection like another name of Inua Jamii. This has been a flagship project for our government because it is anchored in our Better program. So we've scaled it up and we are still on, and I really want to appreciate all of you, and among them being the CHASP team, who have made sure that we succeed in our cash transfers. There are many. The World Bank not being left aside. Lillian is there. She'll tell you that what we do together is quite a lot. And also, Mondi has 2 Kofias. National Safety Net Program, which we call Inua Jamii, also known as Inua Jamii, is a government initiative designed to boost the capacity of existing social protection programs. It focuses on improving the targeting and delivery mechanisms of our cash transfer programs, ensuring that the most vulnerable populations are reached. The Inua Jamii program consolidates our cash transfer initiatives under the umbrella to enhance efficiency and reach. This coordinated approach ensures better resources, management, and consistent support for beneficiaries. We have really tried to improve our cash transfers over time. And that is why our partners are very key in this. And that's why I'm here today, because of CHASP. CHASP being one of our partners, we try to see how we can scale it up. As the world is growing towards digital, we are also digitizing the cash transfer. We are no longer relying so much on giving cash, just cash like this. We have developed our programs, and we now give some of our components of the cash transfer via M-Pesa. This is to minimize the distances that the old and the vulnerable people walk for the 2,000 stipend that the government gives them. Kenya has developed a policy and legislative framework to support social protection initiatives. The recently approved National Social Protection Policy, whose drafting CHASP significantly supported. Mnasikia hiyo? Wale mnasikia hiyo Kiswahili? Yeah. Our policy, which is actually at the AGA, no, it's somewhere written. It's good to mention here that CHASP did play a key role in developing our social protection policy. All along, social protection did not have a policy, and we have further developed a social protection bill, which is at the AG. We want to make sure that social protection stands by its 2 feet. Before, social protection used to jump from place to place wherever an executive order, any president would think of chasing it out of the social of labor. It goes elsewhere. But we've made sure that we have the legal frameworks that protect our State Department. The development of the social protection bill is at advanced stages, and we are hoping this should soon be on the floor of Parliament. Fourthly, collaboration between the government, non-profits, and the private sector has been crucial in developing and implementing social protection programs. These partnerships facilitated resource mobilization, not just knowledge sharing and innovation in developing social protection services. Efforts to build the capacity of local institutions and engage communities in the design and implementation of social protection programs have been critical to ensuring the sustainability and effectiveness of these initiatives. We really feel very proud and good when we see our local partners coming up like this Kenyan called CHASP. We want to see them come up. Not only to depend on, I'm not against any. We should not only think of World Bank, we should not only think of UNICEF, we should not only think of, let CHASP also grow and compete with the bigger banks, isn't it? Let us grow, let us try as much as possible to also support our local programs. The role of agencies like CHASP Advisory in growing the sector in Kenya, I felt it's good to mention something like that. When you advise on matters social protection, I hope we all understand what social protection is. Social protection is about the vulnerable. Social protection goes down where these other big people here cannot reach, the big ones. But the CHASP, the World Bank, the UNICEF, and whoever reaches those people. He clearly said how he got strengthened by the coming in of the COVID-19. That is when people needed social protection. And that is why we are trying to make sure that we develop social protection to a level that is better than none. And with the CHASP, with the bank, World Bank, with UNICEF, with the World Food Program, with this man here called Kinywa, this one here, he'll tell you where he works. He works in an organization called FCDO. Is it so? Yes. That is British Embassy. Organizations like CHASP Advisory play a crucial role advancing the social protection sector in Kenya. They support governments, non-profits, and the private sector in delivering impactful initiatives by generating knowledge, fostering learning, and promoting innovation. They bridge the gap between data and actionable strategies. Their efforts in translating innovative healthcare and social policy ideas into life-changing initiatives are commendable. We deeply value your contribution to our mission of improving healthcare and social protection. Mine is simply to appreciate you. And please, I wish you the best. I wish you that we should be part of the 10th birthday of CHASP. Mine is to wish you the best of luck and to let you know that as long as some of us are in social protection, we will definitely support you, at least to grow from where you are. As long as we are there, we'll work together, at least to lift you a little bit higher. Without much ado, mine was just to come and assist in the celebration and be part of the celebration of the 5th birthday of CHASP Advisory. I thank you and may God bless you.
Please, let's appreciate Mr. Joseph Mogosi one more time with a round of applause. Bwana PS, on behalf of CHASP Advisory, we have Miss Leah Mugo, who is the HR specialist here at CHASP. We would like to just call you forward just one more time to give you a token of appreciation on behalf of CHASP. Just to say thank you for your patronage and also for your unwavering support. We are celebrating CHASP Advisory at 5, and we are glad and honored to be associated with such a powerful and significant brand. At this particular point in time, ladies and gentlemen, we want to go to our next speaker. And ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a development and humanitarian program specialist with not just 1 decade, but over 2 decades of experience. He is a champion for social justice and focused on social protection, peace building, and human rights. He is the head of practice at CHASP Advisory. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate with a warm round of applause the one and only Mr. Omole Opinya as he comes to guide us on the next part of the conversation. Welcome, Mr. Omole. We are glad and honored to have you here. And as we say in Swahili, karibu sana.
Ladies and gentlemen, 5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 solid years for CHASP Advisory. I am very privileged and I'm very honored to stand before you today as we celebrate this occasion of our 5th birthday, like the PS says it. And I stand here as the head of practice at CHASP Advisory. What Omondi didn't say is that my other names are Omole Opinya, because I know he introduced me as Paul. And the other thing that he did not say is that I'm slightly older than him, even though we were growing up together. But as fate would have it, right now I'm slightly lower than him in terms of ranks. But that is how things happen. I wish to welcome all of you because all of you have been with us together in this journey at one time or another, in one project or another, or in one assignment or another. And we really count on every little investment that you have put into CHASP, whether it's resources or whether it's the goodwill. We really appreciate that. I stand here and I reflect. For me, I think it is 4 years. I am one of those people who joined CHASP Advisory during COVID-19. Just as the organization was increasing, was enlarging in terms of the assignments that it could take up. And I also joined as a county coordinator for Marsabit. And I think Omondi said that the faith that UNICEF had on us as CHASP Advisory during that time, I think that's the assignment that sent me to Marsabit. But as I address you today, I think I still reflect and remember very vividly the number of people, the number of beneficiaries that we were able to target and register for niche. Maybe a couple somewhere in Marsabit today are making babies again. Because one of the eligibility criteria for niche is that the household should have a pregnant woman or a baby. But then niche came, to give them hope because of issues of malnutrition. And because that we participated in that process, maybe they got that hope and maybe they're making more babies. So we thank all our stakeholders, especially UNICEF for that matter. We have been in that niche journey and we have registered, tens of thousands of households to benefit from the niche program. But as CHASP Advisory, I think from the video that we saw, it is not just niche. We have worked with government in policy, and not just the government of Kenya, but also the government of Namibia, the government of Rwanda, Esiwani, many governments. Somalia supporting them in terms of policies for social protection and policies for public health. And so we thank the very many stakeholders that have journeyed together with us. It doesn't stop there still. I think many of you have also supported us to support community members in many, many ways. Developing project designs, monitoring what we already have done, or conducting evaluations for that matter, doing research, generating data that can inform decisions. And we just are very proud that our footprints are in some of those development initiatives that help hundreds of thousands of those suffering from poverty across Africa. So generally, like I've said, as CHASP Advisory, we will continue, of course, to grow in those areas that we have mentioned, but also, like the PS has already prayed for us, that we meet again in our 10th birthday. I think when we come for the 10th birthday, I think we will be counting more projects, we'll be counting our footprint in more countries in Africa, countries that have been made vulnerable as a result of poverty. I think very, very finally, we are here as CHASP Advisory 5 years down the line. What we say is a lifetime of positive impact, but then there's more for us to go. There's more for us to do together. And I'm sure that we can make a real difference in the lives of millions of our people. For us, it's not just a job. I think it's a calling to transform lives. So basically, mine was just to say hi with those very few remarks and welcome you to continue to partner with us in supporting social policy, work that is related to social policy, as well as supporting work that is related to public health, because that is where our vision and mission lies. Thank you very much.
When it comes to being a team leader, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker who's going to come before us is also a seasoned team leader and a programs manager, and also has quite the experience when it comes to value chain development and also climate smart agriculture, with a wide range of experience in management. Ladies and gentlemen, his efforts has seen him being elected as the National Secretary of Executive Committee members at the Council of Governors for the Blue Economy. He is currently the County Executive Committee member at Migori County. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate with a warm round of applause Mr. Musenda Chacha as he comes forward, a team leader and a profession, captain of industry. We are glad to have you here. Welcome once again.
Thank you so much. First, happy birthday to CHASP. Happy birthday, and the entire team in the house, happy to meet you one more time. The representative of the PS, Madam Jane Muyanga, happy to see you after a very long time. The global director of CHASP, my brother Omondi Otieno, our many friends and partners in the room, friends and partners of CHASP, and my own friends. Good evening. How are you? You look great from where I'm standing here. So I do not have written notes, but I'll try to package my story with CHASP as CHASP celebrates 5 years of its existence. And I will take you back in time. Many years ago, I met my brother Omondi Otieno nearly 20-something years ago when we were both young professionals trying to cut our age in the civil society. But that is a long story. Fast forward, when I was at ActionAid, I remember, unless you challenge this, I actually gave my brother Omondi Otieno his first job when he was trying to hone his skills in the development sector. Looking back many years down the road, I think that could have been in 2009 or something, 2008, I can't remember very well. I mean, it's amazing that today, my brother here is leading a team that is trailblazing in a sector that many of us were not very sure about not so long ago. Again, I will recall one time, I think that could have been the birth of CHASP. We were driving from Migori coming here, I think somewhere around Keroka. He challenges me and tells me, Musenda, I want to grow into a sector that I'm sure you know very little about. So I ask him, what sector is this? So he tells me, social protection. And if you remember well, Omondi actually dismissed you. Social protection about what? You know, I was not personally convinced that there is, an argument for social protection in this country. Later, I joined him and I actually led the entire team, as he has mentioned, and I think the rest is history. Today, as I sit here, ladies and gentlemen, or stand here, I am a very proud person because, not just because I have had a stint with CHASP, I have worked with Omondi Otieno, I have had the opportunity, the very rare opportunity, to stand in front of serious government officials providing consultancy services to government. That is not a mean feat. And I can tell you, in my CV, if you come across it, it has a whole huge paragraph that is talking about how I participated in some of those groundbreaking initiatives, including Niche and a few others. So I think all I can say is it's good. CHASP has actually gotten the social protection sector in this country to a level that many of us who know where that all started are very, very proud to be associated with. Today, just as the PS appreciated, the social protection sector in this country, it has grown in leaps and bounds. You have no idea what this sector was looking like a few years ago when everyone was struggling. We were not very sure about what is going to happen here. There were very few comparator countries or programs that we would compare or benchmark ourselves with, until today the social protection sector in this country is one of the best in this continent. And it is actually a reference point to a few others outside Africa. So Mondi, there you are. You have made the first 5 years. I know that is probably the most challenging phase of building a brand. The next 10 years before we meet again, wherever that is going to be, to celebrate 10 years or even 20 years, 100 years, is all for your taking. You and your very, very great team. And I'm very happy to have met a number of them here today. Of course, there is still quite a journey to travel. But I think where it is today is at a point where the growth can only be phenomenal. And I also have to really appreciate the many partners in the room. He has already acknowledged them. I see a number of faces here for standing with CHASP and giving them all the support. I am sure when the history of this country is written in terms of the social protection sector, you have worked, or we worked briefly on the policy, the name CHASP will find its place in that particular book. So, you are still agile enough. I am sure, Mondi, with all the energy that you have and the supportive team that you have, you will go places in terms of building this. It's still nascent, so to speak, because we still have a lot of citizens who would have benefited from that particular initiative. They are being onboarded by and large, and lots of innovation, lots of different ways of doing things, and I'm sure it is growing. Yeah, I can stand here. As you've been told, I work for the county government of Migori at the moment. But CHASP has an ally. I am that guy who has a personal number, who does not, you would not see him. He has some imaginary office at the corner there. Regularly peeps into what CHASP is doing. I follow a lot of what this organization does, because I still believe that I have a part of me that still connects with CHASP. So without taking so much of your time, I just want to take this opportunity, Omondi Otieno and the entire team at CHASP, to wish you all the best. Really, you have done well, but you still have quite a bit to go, and I'm sure the sky is the limit for you and for all of us who, in one way or the other, identify with this great brand that has many milestones to cover. With those few remarks, asanteni sana, and may you enjoy this particular birthday and this evening. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, let's appreciate Honorable Lucas Musenda one more time with a round of applause. CEC, Migori County, thank you. On behalf of CHASP, we say hand on heart, hand on our heart, we appreciate your unwavering support and how you've been able to also work with Mr. Omondi. We like the appreciation and also the challenge that definitely there is more land to be conquered out there. Thank you very much for that. Please, if you'd be so kind as just to give a nice, warm high five to the person seated next to you and tell them it's a 5-year celebration. 5-year celebration. We want now to go to our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen. Our next speaker is currently the social protection specialist at UNICEF Kenya, where he plays a pivotal role in the niche program, a government-led initiative aimed at enhancing nutrition, and that is through social protection. This man quite has the expertise which involves coordinating the technical assistance to ensure the program's success. As once again, as earlier mentioned, he is the social protection specialist at UNICEF Kenya. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate the seasoned Mr. George Kinyanjui as he comes forward to guide us in this conversation. We are glad to have you here, George. Welcome once again, and we look forward to your remarks. Karibu sana, as we say in Swahili.
My name is George Kinyanjui. If the PS was here, he has always reminded us that, if you have earned it, say it. So yeah, in his absentia, I'm Dr. George Kinyanjui, and I'm very grateful to be here. And I'm an economist, so I'll be very, very brief in terms of my, my celebratory remark this evening. Madam Jane, of course, Omondi, Sam, and the team. I mean, when I look in the room, I'm seeing a family because here we are, celebrating a huge milestone today with CHASP. I will start by correcting some few bits and pieces that Omondi spoke about earlier on when he mentioned UNICEF, and I'm here on my own capacity and not necessarily representing UNICEF because I've worked with Omondi for a very long time. And he mentioned about, the support that has come through UNICEF. But I just wanted to say that it was actually the support from government to CHASP through UNICEF. Because what exactly we do is to support government. And anything that will be spoken today or what has been spoken before about niche, UNICEF was just like another CHASP. We were just offering technical assistance, and we walked the journey together with Omondi and the team, and that is in CHASP. So I just wanted to put a comma in that speech earlier on, just to say that we are appreciating, the role of government, especially in this sector, that Lucas was telling Omondi that, what is this? And also to say, Lucas, finally, we had always met with Lucas, online in meetings, and only now that I'm seeing him in person. So great to see you, sir. I joined UNICEF pretty much after the program that they've spoken about, the niche program, or the nutrition improvement through cash and health education program. After my short stint with the bank, with the World Bank, I worked with the World Bank in Pretoria for 2 years with the social protection and jobs group practice. I came to Nairobi, worked with MTI, which is the macro trade and investment, and then shifted in 2021 to join UNICEF as a social protection and public finance specialist. I think my first assignment on the table was actually this big program that we were offering technical assistance to government, which is the niche program. And as you know, as the PS said, as an example, really when he got to that office and he was looking for, who is that is going to help me wade through all these, waves. There was a lot that was expected. Niche being one of the biggest programs that was within the CHASP, which is the Kenya Social and Economic Inclusion Program. There was a lot of expectations that UNICEF was going to be able to deliver the TA and ensure that we are covering our children and also our pregnant mothers. And as, very innocent coming from the bank on the back end where we were just, punching numbers, doing research, I was now in the forefront really to, ensure that we are able to deliver. And I looked around the room and I was asking, who exactly are we going to work with, and there was CHASP, right? And UNICEF being one of those international civil service, there's always the tendency to think that, everything has to be international, and by international, by extension, sort of like looking at those global big companies and all that. But I remember, I had it with colleagues and also people who are working with, that there is a Madam Jane somewhere. And in one time, I remember we were in Chaka Hotel. I'll never forget, in Machakos, and we were just by the lift. And Madam Jane told me, "You know what, George? You guys must start believing in our local capacities, right?" And I think that, sunk into my biggest aorta, in my system. And I said, every other time I will hold a position where I will have to give advice in terms of the localization agenda, I will always remember those, organizations that are making those baby steps, to get to the spaces that all these other bigger and global companies have wanted or have actually gotten to. And CHASP was one. I can tell you, for any of the beneficiaries registered in the niche program that is now cumulatively going to 50,000 plus, none of any of the beneficiaries has been registered by any other than the CHASP Advisory. And did they not just, give us the platform for the identification and registration of beneficiaries in the traditional way? You've seen enumerators come, even for our census, or when we are having all these household surveys and all that. They've come with forms, or sometimes when advanced with tablets, and they're asking questions. CHASP was one of those TAs that we provided to start thinking about revolutionizing how we identify our beneficiaries and how we end up having them registered for support through government. And we started, one of the brilliant things, I hope the PS will be here just to say that what the PS has always asked us to do, literally, is to make sure that we are not blocking any beneficiary who should be, benefiting from government support, because there was, meetings in Nairobi to look for which enumerator should go where and all that. The beneficiaries should have the luxury of sitting in their house and registering themselves for support for what is rightfully theirs. Because social protection is a right, right? You look at Article 47, 56, 57 of our Constitution, identifies all these rights that are linked to social protection. So CHASP helped us get what we call the on-demand registration system, which is basically a technology where beneficiaries should self-select themselves into any government system. And I'm happy because we've been piloting it through niche. And we're hoping that we will basically be able to move it even beyond. So for me, it's a very emotional and also a fulfilling moment that we've been able to take a leap of faith and start redefining the sector itself as a whole. And not by reinventing the wheel, but using exactly what we have as a country. In Africa, we're told that Kenya is the beacon of technology. So why then should we not use technology to deliver services through government? And I must say thank you from a very personal perspective to CHASP for all these baby steps that we've walked with, linking not just the local capacities, but also bringing on board international experience. But when you look back and be happy about all these things, I think there is a lot of lessons that we have to learn as we move forward, right? I've just spoken about the need for us to actually leverage on technology. I've talked about the fact that we have also to look at this sector as a multi-sector in social protection, but I can tell you the biggest chunk of that program is on malnutrition, which is basically on another sector, but really rallying all these other sectors to deliver as one. Because every other problem that you find in social protection will always have an angle from every other place. Engineer Jeremy will tell you about, he will speak for hours about the humanitarian terrain, and especially looking at the ASALs, right? David will tell you, about all these things. And it's social protection in the end when the spiral goes round, it boils down to social protection. How do we make sure that we pitch ourselves at that level? And I'm happy that locally we don't have to go like any other countries of experience, to go elsewhere to look for capacities. We have those capacities here. So my take is that the bigger cake is in the future. And the journey has to be, very decisive, intentional, and ensuring that you're working with the right people. And I think CHASP is one of those teams that we have to, keep growing. 5 years is a very short time, but man, the things that you've been able to do and turn around, are really tremendous. I always remember some work that we did when we were still at the bank, looking at how long does it take for a startup in Kenya to potentially die. And many of the startups don't even get to their second birthday, right? But CHASP here is getting to its 5, and not just getting to its 5, but getting to its 5 strong. And I think that has been a tremendous journey, Omondi and team, that you've been able to, to do. I want to give back the mic, but I always, as Omondi will tell you, in many of our discussions that we've had, I think I've always been the mirror I always call him sometimes and tell him, Omondi, here you're not doing good. And I'm happy that he takes that with a very positive mind. Being a social protection specialist, I saw something that you have to do very soon and drastically. Man, you can't have all lions in the team and no antelopes. My goodness, you need you need to do some gender. When you're presenting your staffing, I was very happy because I've interacted with Paul Omole. I've gone to the field with him. Lucas is there. We have worked together. And many more. Derek, Joram, and all these others. Man, yeah, gender, please. So I hope the rapporteurs will be able to take that as a note and, just going forward, because I think as we move forward, we're really having a big, especially in this sector, I think the big ticket things is how we make social protection gender sensitive. And we cannot do that if we still, do the same traditional things. So thank you so much, Amondi and the team, and yeah, have a good evening.
All right, fantastic. Thank you for that, Mr. George Kinyanjui. We appreciate you, and also thank you for your remarks. I will just try also and ride on your drops mic last statement on gender sensitivity. I would like to kindly request all the ladies in the house, please, if you'd be so kind as to rise to your feet. And as you rise, ladies, one of the things that we want to say on behalf of CHASP is that we appreciate your leadership. Each and every one of you. The gentlemen on the floor, please, let's appreciate our ladies one more time with a round of applause. And on behalf of CHASP, we appreciate you. Fantastic. And quite the coin, because our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, is a lady who brings not just 10 or 20 or even 30 years, but she has 32 years of experience in child protection and 22 years of experience in the social protection sector. I am so glad and privileged to be inviting her because she has a master's degree in project planning and management and also serves as the head of the National Social Protection Secretariat in Kenya. And in this particular role, she has the opportunity of overseeing the policy development, the legislative initiatives aimed at advancing the social protection efforts nationwide. So ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate a lady extraordinaire and coming in the full fashion as the director of the Social Protection Secretariat. Please help me appreciate Ms. Jane Muyanga as she comes forward to give us her remarks. We are glad to have you here. Welcome once again.
Wow, that was a handful. Good evening, everyone, and happy birthday to CHASP. The one advantage I have, and I'm happy George has raised it, is I keep calling them my small brothers, and I always tell them small brothers are spanked with the slippers from a child protection specialist, a slippers does not leave a mark. I'm not telling you to go and do it for your babies. But I really want to appreciate this far we've come with CHASP. Actually, when Omondi was doing the UNICEF assignment, we were just trying to get our footing to coming up with an operations manual for niche. This was a totally new project. It was World Bank funded with very crazy timelines. And it was like, so how do we have this whole process? How do we weave it and ensure that we have the right beneficiaries into the program? And I really want to appreciate the fact that CHASP came in. And there's also another friend of mine that I saw here. Nyamongo, where are you? Yeah. This is also another big sis in the game, and we really appreciate, she's also done a lot of work, and I'm sure, Omondi, you've interacted. And we really appreciate that, Nyamongo, you've been able to join us. We really appreciate you. So, I think I would agree with the MC. The ladies in the social protection sector, we are very few. And even when I look around the room, we are not doing very well. And we need to start asking ourselves, how can we change the conversation on social protection? Because in Kenya, in most cases, anytime you talk about social protection, you are told cash transfer. But social protection is not about cash transfer. Cash transfer is the smallest component of social protection. And the one thing that we are appreciating with CHASP is you are bringing that data to the table to tell us cash transfer is the smallest component. How do we bring all these other components, the shock responsive, the nutrition improvement? Like now you look around, you look at our statistics, and I'm just looking at Chacha and asking him, what is it that is going to do for Migori with the FGM and the child, and the teenage pregnancies? Much as you're in agriculture, you still our champion there. How can we use that knowledge that you have to make sure that that changes the tides for the children in Migori? So we need to be able to ask ourselves, how do we do all this? But for CHASP, the one thing that was to their advantage, COVID. And I keep saying COVID was the best thing that happened to the world, because it was a slap on our faces to wake up and think seriously about social protection. Because even the most developed economies realized they had gaps in how they dealt with the lockdowns. And Omondi apparently was moderating most of our virtual meetings with Winnie there. Winnie, I hadn't seen you. That's another guru. Winnie, welcome. That is another social protection guru. And these are the people who I believe we've been able to hold the hand of CHASP, just not as professional colleagues, but like I've said, looking at Omondi as a small brother that we need to help stand on his 2 feet and walk. Omondi has done a lot of work for us. The editing of the social protection policy, which the PAs alluded to, it was very, very instrumental. Our M&D framework, Omondi was at the thick of it. But you know, these are, in most cases, when you get the document, you only see the government logo. You don't see the people behind the scenes. And he has been very, very instrumental in that. And we really want to appreciate. And my only challenge to all of us is, how can we as Kenyans build a Kenyan brand that can compete internationally? Because sometimes, and George will tell you, I keep getting so frustrated when you see works that, in my view, can be done by Kenyans. And then you are told, no, we do not have a Kenyan farm that can do this. And you're asking, really? Kwani tulienda shule kufanya nini? Kuchoma mahindi? No. But we are not supporting each other well. We are not networking well to know, Like if I'm to start a consultancy and I want work from UNICEF, am I able to reach to George and it's like, how does this space at your place pan itself like? Because if you go to NDMA, I'm sure the requirements will be totally different from UNICEF. So if I worked with NDMA, I am likely to bring what I did with NDMA to you, and then George is looking at it like, sasa hii nayo huyu alikuwa anafanya nini? We need to create our own networks. Let us build the capacity for Kenya to be able to be a trailblazer. We are trailblazing, but I think we still have potential that we've not used. In fact, if I was to score ourselves in between 1 to 10, we are not yet 5. We are around 4. And you are 4 when we have the potential to be at 10. How do we work around that? We need to start asking ourselves. Like, for example, we have the curriculum for social protection practitioners. How many of our people seated here know that curriculum exists? How many of us have used that curriculum? How many of us have trained? And until we are able to work around that, because we need to have more people coming, compete with CHASP so that you are on your toes. But if you are always number 1, do you have any motivation to work harder? And you could be number 1 when you are the only person in the class anyway. So have you worked hard? So can we make sure we bring people who are going to give CHASP some sleepless nights in terms of we must improve this, we must improve this. That is the only way we are going to be globally competitive. And I'm happy you've been able to go out of Kenya. But I don't think Africa, we are the best example in terms of social protection. Why are we not competing in those European countries where the systems are well set? Can we work and push ourselves towards that? And I'm sure maybe, God willing, by the time we come here in another 5 years, we should be hearing more of the work we are doing there and informing Kenya in terms of the evidence that we'll have and experience that we'll have gotten out there to make sure that we do a better job. And with that, I really want to say to my small brother Omondi, happy birthday. And to the CHASP team, I think I've worked with virtually almost quite a number of them. We wish you all the best in this assignment. Thank you very much.
Please, just one more time, let's appreciate her. Thank you for your leadership, guidance, and also, once again, unwavering support. Now we want to get into a panel discussion, but before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to request all of us, it's a celebration, all of us, if we can all rise to our feet. Let's all rise to our feet. All right, in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Down and up. Down and up. Let's go. Down and up. Down and up. Let's go. Down and up. Let's go. Down and up. Let's go. Down. Take your phone out. All right, put it down. And up. Down and up. Regional offices opening by CHASP. All right. Down and up. Down and up. Down. Check it from the bottom. Let's go. Put it there. Right from the bottom. And put it there. Right from the bottom. And put it there. One more time. Let's go. And put it there. Thank you, DJ. Give a high five to the person standing next to you and tell them I'm a better dancer than you. All right, you may have your seats, good people. We want to get into a panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen. I have the privilege of calling up the panelists, and what I will do, I will call them forward individually as they come on stage, starting from the far end as we continue filling all these particular spaces. So the first panelist, please, would be able to come closer to me as we all come from my extreme left. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our first panelist is a humanitarian resilience and inclusion lead for UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Ladies and gentlemen, help me appreciate the one and only Mr. David Kinyua as he comes forward to join the panel. Welcome, Mr. Kinyua. We are glad to have you here. Our second panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is the Chief Executive Officer at BOMA.NGO. Please help me appreciate with a warm round of applause Mr. Sam Owili as he comes forward. Sam Owili bringing quite the expertise to this particular conversation. And our next panelist, ladies and gentlemen, is the Chief Government Relations Officer at Village Enterprise. Please help me appreciate the seasoned speaker and quite the gentleman, Mr. Tadeo Morioki, as he comes forward. Thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, the icing on the cake and the cherry on top, please help me appreciate once again the Global Director at CHASP Advisory to come and join the panel. Please help me appreciate Mr. Omondi Otieno as he comes to join us in this particular conversation. Welcome once again. We are glad to have you here. We had one more panelist who is going to come and join us here. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a lady that you have seen and heard the expertise that she's been able to bring on the table, the director at the Social Protection Secretariat. Please, once again, help me appreciate Ms. Jane Muyanga as she comes forward to join this particular conversation.
Thank you very much. My name is David Kinyua, working at the British High Commission here in Nairobi. People know it FCDO. For those people who work in the humanitarian sector. So I lead a team that look at the humanitarian work, resilience work, but also inclusion. So yes, thank you, and I'm privileged to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Kinyua. Glad to have you here as well. Let us get to hear from Mr. Sam.
Hi, everyone, and happy 5th birthday, CHASP. My name is Sam Owili, and I work for BOMA. At BOMA, we implement poverty graduation approach, working with extreme poor households, supporting them to start small, profitable businesses, offer them coaching and mentorship to help them to sustainably escape extreme poverty. I'm glad to be here and honored to celebrate this milestone. What I didn't get is where they fall in the spectrum of generation, whether they are Gen Z or Gen X, but I'll get to know.
Good evening once again. Like you've been told, my name is Jane Muyanga Kitili. I head the National Social Protection Secretariat. We just want to kind of put our heads together and see what is this animal called poverty graduation and how can we navigate around it to ensure that our people live better lives. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening. First of all, congratulations, Wendy and team. This is such a remarkable accomplishment, so we're really happy to be here celebrating with you. My name is Tadeo Morioki. I work for an organization called Village Enterprise, and our focus is really just similar to BOMA, working with people living in extreme poverty. We work across several countries. We work in Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia, and a few other countries where we do all technical assistance. And as my role is really to support governments in terms of adoption and scaling of poverty graduation. And sometimes you'll hear poverty graduation, economic inclusion. It's one and the same thing. It's just people refer it differently. Government circles allow using economic inclusion. So thank you, and glad to be here.
Thank you, Tadeo. And to the man who doesn't need an introduction, but just in case someone walked in and is seeing him from the very first time.
Great. My name is Omondi Otieno, and I lead the team at CHASP Advisory.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Omondi. And now our key focus for this particular conversation is the hits and misses of the ultra-poor graduation here in Kenya. But we want to have a better understanding of the UPGs, all right? And I'd like to throw this to Sam. Sam, for probably someone who is hearing this for the very first time, please, if you would be able to be so kind as to help us just frame this particular conversation in better understanding the ultra-poor graduation. In your own words, how would you best explain the UPG? here in Kenya, and also, I know not just in Kenya, especially when it comes to your expertise, I know it also cuts across the borders, but please, in your own words, if you can be able just to give us guidance on that.
Yeah, I mean, thank you, Ian. And when you look at ultra poverty graduation, I think the first question we need to ask ourselves is the nexus between poverty and social protection. And the people who spoke before us, I think, have tried to define that, looking at social protection as a mechanism for supporting the vulnerable groups. And there can be no better vulnerability than those living in extreme poverty. Globally, we have about 700 million of them, about 50% of whom are in sub-Saharan Africa. And those that live in extreme poverty hardly find a mechanism to earn $2.15 a day. I mean, the UN SDGs project that we should have nobody living in poverty by 2030, but the data and the status that we are witnessing now actually suggests a different case, that we might have about 545 million of them living in extreme poverty. So, as people living in this part of the world, we've taken it upon ourselves to try and find mechanisms and approaches that would support us to change the story, to change the narrative, and therefore build approaches that would target the extreme poor and then support them through a sequenced set of interventions that are time-bound and with clearly measurable metrics to determine whether or not they've graduated from extreme poverty. And that was the birth of what we call the graduation approach, which is part of the broad economic inclusion programs supported by job creation, supported by microfinance engagements, and graduation being one of them. So when we talk about ultra-poverty graduation, we are talking about a methodology. It is an approach that is targeted and forms a foundational basis for us to change the story of people living in extreme poverty.
Right, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And it's quite interesting that even 50% of those living in that particular consortium are here in Africa. I'd like to bring it also to Mr. Otieno. What would be your addition to the UPG? And also just to probably add on to what Sam is saying.
Yeah, I think Sam is spot on. Possibly what I could do is to try and break it down. What really happens is that governments are usually very quick to build social assistance programs. Now, social assistance mostly targets populations that are not productive, okay? Which is why you have cash transfer for programs for children without parents, for the orphan and vulnerable children. Which is why you have cash transfers for persons living with disabilities, which is why you have the universal pension scheme for those above the age of 70 in this country. But usually there is a missing middle that live in poverty. So I'm talking about somebody at the age of 35 who is living in some corner of Marsabit. The very context in which they live makes them a lot less productive. They don't have instruments of productivity. Value chains are far more broken down. Yet there is an opportunity for us to invest in these particular households living in poverty. Just give them the right tools. And I think that is why some talks about job creation, some talks about investment in microfinance and all these skills, so that then they are able themselves to be a lot more productive and get out of poverty. Now that is what is called graduation, right? So I think that is probably the simplicity I wanted to throw into it.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Mr. Otieno. And I love the way it's actually even coming out, the key focus to make sure that we can be able to graduate them and also giving them the ways and how they can be able to do that. Let me go into the first point of the discussion, and this is the impact of UPG on the poverty reduction. So here we just want to have a little bit of time to discuss on the success stories and also the key achievements. But to the panel, and what is your general perspective on UPG and the extent to which it can contribute to reduce poverty, all right? And what I want to do is that we want to get to the policy discussion on this. And let me just come to Jane on this particular sector. And Jane, what would be your take when it comes to that in terms of the policies that we can be able to implement? What is your general perspective on UPG and the extent to which it can contribute to reducing poverty from a policy point of view?
Thank you very much for that. And I think, like you had earlier asked, is when we talk of the ultra poor, what are we basically talking about? And when we talk about policies that address that category of our population, then what are we talking about? And for me, I want to bring it to our lowest level and just ask a simple question. How many of us in the room have children who are below the age of 10? Now, think of yourself in Mukuru slums, waking up in the morning, you have your 3 babies who are below 10, and you have absolutely nothing to give them. And you are not even sure whether tomorrow you will get something to give them. How does that define you? Because when we are talking of ultra poor, that is basically what we are looking at. And when we come now to the policy conversation, we are asking ourselves, are the social protection interventions we are giving making sense? And we are now moving away from targeted programming to a more of a life cycle approach, where we are saying our social protection should be able to take care of me from the womb to the tomb. The reason being, from conception to 2 years, it's a window of opportunity in terms of my cognitive development as a person. And that has a component of the nutrition. When I become a child, what are the issues, child protection issues, that I require to ensure that I exploit my potential? So when we are talking about, like for example, in government now, we are talking about the cash plus. Just don't give people cash. What else can they do with that cash? Or what else can you do with them with that cash? And that is where the issue of the economic inclusion is coming in, where we want to build the capacities of households to be able to stand on their own. And with our economic inclusion programming, I remember going to Kisumu, and there's a lady who told us that was the 9th business she was starting. And it was the first business for her that went beyond 6 months. The reason for this, like Tadeo has said, is you have targeted interventions in terms of mentoring. How do these people look at their incomes? And she was telling us anytime she would have a nice day selling whatever it was she was selling, she looked at the money in the cash box as money for use. She never had the knowledge of trying to separate our expenditures from that cash box. So when it comes to now the policy narrative, we want to look at a life cycle approach where we are saying from the time you are conceived to the time you die, what are the social protection interventions that we should be able to put in place to ensure that we do not sink in poverty, and those that are in poverty, how can we pull them out of that kind of a scenario?
Thank you for that, Jane. And I like the way you've started up your point by saying the policies that we have in place, are they actually working? Because it's important to audit what is currently there so that now we can understand, is it working, and how we can be able to do it differently. And I love the way you touched also on finance. And I'd like to throw this to Mr. Kinyua, and I know he's passionate about the finance part of the UPG. Mr. Kinyua, if you'd be so kind just to chime in on this particular conversation from a finance aspect.
Maybe before even we ask, what do we finance? Or why are we financing UPG? We need to understand where Kenya is at the moment so that we know what we are financing. So Kenya is a very unique country when you look at it compared to the other sub-Saharan Africa countries. It is the only country that has been growing with, for the last 20 years. We hear that Kenya is growing at 4.9% at an average for the last 10 years. But then at the macros, you see very big numbers. But down here, you hear people saying we don't have money in our pocket, which is the real thing. Just here, Kila Mkenya, everybody is a Kenyan here. Every Kenyan is saying, we are seeing big numbers, but we don't have money in our pocket. So what is happening is we have economic growth that is led by infrastructure development, but the people down here don't feel it. So what UPG should be trying to do is actually connect these people down here to this economic growth. And this is actually what we are trying to do with the economic inclusion, to try and connect these people down here to the macro so that they also feel that money is coming into their pockets. Then when you understand that, then you're able to look at what are you financing. So what you want to finance is people to have businesses so that they are able to tap into the macros. If it is a road that a person down there in Garissa is able to produce food and transport it, then we are connecting them to this road that is being constructed and people saying there's big, economic growth in Kenya. Then you're able to know what you're financing. And then you can target that person to finance that person to have a business, to grow their own food, to be sustainable. But I don't want to use the name resilience or self-sufficient.
Yeah.
I want to say that we want people to produce their own food,
Yes.
Be able to take their own children to school without looking at, begging. That is one thing. But then you look at this, but then you say, even if I give them food, the biggest thing that they have, the biggest problem that they have is actually health. Even if you give them small businesses, they get one health issue and all the investments that they had is gone. So the other thing that you have to finance is actually health insurance. So when you are doing all this, you also have to look at health insurance. Beyond this, there is also climate, I don't want to call it climate change now, it's already a climate crisis. So what you want also to do is look at how are they affected by climate and how do you tap on international climate financing to be able, we contribute very lowly to climate crisis. But the countries that contribute to this should be able, to channel their money to finance some of the things that we do for climate crisis. So when I look at this, then we look at financing from three perspectives. One, making sure that you connect the poor people to the macros. But how do you do that? By making sure that you have systems in place, financing systems in place that are able to get into the government fiscal system, and the government fiscal system is able to finance this at scale using domestic sources. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kinyua. I love what you said about making sure that you can be able to create that bridge so that now we can be able to be part of the macros. The people on the lower end can be part of the macros, and also enabling them, even when it comes to starting a business whereby they can, even if the road is being constructed, they can be able to transport their produce on that. Now, coming still on this particular conversation, and I want to bring it to Tadeo before I come to Sam. Now, the general perspective definitely of UPG and how it can be able to reduce poverty. Do we reinvent the wheel, or is there a little bit of innovation, new ways that we can be able to bring to the table? What are your thoughts on this, Mr. Tadeo?
Yeah, one of the things I think also we need to really expound on is why the focus on poverty graduation, right? Because we have tons and tons of livelihood programs, okay? But poverty graduation, first of all, there's global evidence using what we call RCTs and other very rigorous evaluations that of all the livelihood programs that have been tested or implemented, it is the one that is the most successful in getting people out of extreme poverty, okay? So that's why you see Sam and I and other people here really focusing on that, because it is the closest silver bullet in terms of being able to pull people out of extreme poverty. And there's global evidence. Different countries have done this. Bangladesh, India, in Central America, in Africa. So that's the reason we really have to think about this is the approach that we need to be focusing on, and hence, partners like FCDO, World Bank, and several governments being able to take it up. In terms of innovation, I think we could really think about innovations in different ways. First of all, innovations in terms of being able to reach more people. We talked about technology. How can we be able to use technology to be able to say, instead of having, we go to the communities and having one person do this, could we use technology? Could we use digital training to be able to reach a lot more people? could we also use, in terms of when we're talking to partners like FCDO, something in terms of financing, what we call results-based financing. So instead of, and you see a lot of funding or NGOs or partners doing this, we fund activities, but can we be able to fund for results? So that we say, you give funding only on once you're able to pull somebody out of extreme poverty, not just because they've attended many workshops or they've attended some activity or something. So really thinking about different ways of doing this. CHASP is already doing ODR, being able to make sure that we are bringing in people who have been left out. So if you can go to a community, maybe targeting has been done, enhanced social registry, but making sure that we're up to date, we have some ways of being able to make sure that people are not being left out. So we can be able to think about innovations in a very broad spectrum, but I think what I really also want to focus is on the fact that the innovations, I would say also speaking maybe for Boma and the village enterprise, we've been doing this alone or as what we call direct implementation, but we've realized we need to work with partners, especially with government. Government is a place where we need to work closely with so that we can reach a lot more people. Government has the reach, has the resources, and has the systems to be able to do that. Thank you.
Right. I love the angle that you've taken about financing results, not just attending workshops. So I won't get a sitting allowance for attending a workshop, but it is results oriented. Let me go to the seasoned person who is experienced when it comes to, who has a wealth of wisdom when it comes to the experience. Mr. Sam, still on the UPG, and an extent it can be able to reduce poverty. What learnings can we be able to bring forward, even as we chart the way forward? What learnings can we say that this is what we have learned in the past, and this is what we can be able to put on the table as we channel the way forward?
That's a challenging question, I would say, because I come from the school of thought that believes that we've already done enough innovation, and maybe it is time to start replication. And having said that, 84% of people living in extreme poverty are in the rural areas. And I don't know about you, but for some of us who are brought up in the rural areas, there is the risk of normalizing poverty, because that is what you are born knowing. So sometimes when people say you're poor, you don't actually realize that there's something you are missing until you actually get to see other people. And so there's actually a risk of normalizing it.
Yeah.
And to Madam Jane's point, when you look at the profiles for the extreme poor, you would actually realize that women are disproportionately affected, and children suffer more. In fact, 50% of those living in extreme poverty are children, yet children only form about 31% of our total population. And you might ask yourself why I'm reflecting on this data. It reminds us about looking at it from a justice perspective of the importance of prioritizing solutions that work. And as we prioritize such solutions, like the poverty graduation approach, that, as Tadeo has rightly put, has been proven to be impactful and effective in lifting people out of extreme poverty and sustaining it long term. So we don't need to do further tests. We don't need to do additional experiments to prove the model. We don't need to revolutionize it, but we do need to evolutionize it to make it much more effective. And I think that's really the direction that we should be taking. And I'm happy that for Kenya, I'm very proud of our government, because they've not only identified this as a solution, but they've also decided to own it. They've gone beyond adoption. Adopting, you can adopt, but do you really own it? Because when you own it, you make sure that the policies are in place, you make sure that the legislation is working, and if you listen to the peers, all of these are in motion thanks to the work that has been done by the captains who are seated here with me. So what I would add to this is we do need, as a country, to take the leap. We need to take the quantum leap and put into action with support from some of our partners like FCDO, the World Bank, the foundations that are supporting this kind of work, to start investing so that we can achieve the big dream of ending extreme poverty, because it is doable. Just one part I would want to mention, that if we don't do this, because from 2014 onwards, we've actually seen the poverty reduction slowing down at a decreasing rate. Because looking at the period between 1990 and 2019, we actually had a significant reduction in poverty levels from 38 to about 8.4%. Meaning in 1990, we had about 1 in every 3 persons living in extreme poverty. In 2019, it was actually 1 out of 10. But now we have seen that starting to decrease. So if we don't act now, and then the challenges of COVID, which pushed 80 million people into poverty, the issues of high food and energy prices, and the issues of climate change or climate crisis, as we put it. So we do need, as this group, to look at taking a more accelerated approach to address the challenge, given that we already have the solution, bundling it up with other interventions that will buttress the impact and effectiveness of the approach. This includes investing in, for example, consumption support to cushion for the immediate needs, establishing basic needs, providing water, sanitation, hygiene, schooling, and so on, and then also strengthening the human capital to make sure that the intergenerational cycle of the chain of the intergenerational cycle of poverty is broken. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And also how you have a key focus on to evolutionize it. Thank you very much for also bringing that up. And yes, definitely we need to focus on that particular trajectory. Let me bring it back to Mr. Omondi. And at this particular point in time, we want to briefly discuss the challenges and also the shortcomings. So what have been the main challenges and shortcomings faced during the implementation of these models from a program point of view? Let's get to hear from you. What are some of the challenges, roadblocks?
I actually don't know if that's my question. I mean, it's fair to say that is not my question. Largely because we are just beginning, I think, implementation. Our focus on UPG is very nascent. Probably about 4 months old, right? So I wouldn't say that the challenges would be experiential. And so I would possibly leave it to Sam and Tadio here who have, and actually the government who have really implemented that, I think, for a long time. But off the top of my head, and I think this could potentially be very generic, and colleagues feel free to disagree, right? I think a good place to begin from, especially with the challenges, one would be the policy setup, right? Graduation in this country is an evolving model, and I think it's fair to say that it's still new. The government is picking it up, and thanks to the CHASP program supported by the bank. But then we still are yet to wrap our heads properly around what the graduation policy really should be for Kenya in terms of writing. The practices established, I think there's a lot of lessons that have been drawn, but in terms of those policy and possibly even the operational frameworks, government guidelines for EIP or for poverty graduation definitely is one of those things that certainly require conversation. The other is definitely a resource conversation, right? So we are looking at a lot of growth having been happened, and when I say growth, is in terms of domestic investment on social assistance. At the moment, it is fair to say that the bulk of investment on graduation basically comes from FCDO and the World Bank, right? And we are yet to see increasing domestic investment in social protection. And think that in itself, to the extent that this hasn't been adopted to that level, I think definitely that in itself continues to present a challenge. The good thing, which might not necessarily shape as a challenge, because I have been in that sector 4 months or so, is coordination, but that coordination is very, very well established at the national level. So national level coordination for poverty graduation, I think, is top notch. We have had, I think, engagements. I see the nature of engagements that happen, and you definitely, much as you can say, there's always a lot more to be done, but definitely that seems to be in a good place. There's a lot of good working relationship between all these, like I would say, captains, and that I think is in a good place. What I think requires a bit of work is the coordination at the county level, right? And even the role of county level in promoting poverty graduation is a conversation that is still happening. So it's fair to say that stays as a challenge, but then that could, I would say, like the sector is evolving, it's definitely work in progress.
Yeah, you really touched on a number of points that I was going to say. I think as Omondi has said, this is still very new for the government, right? So I would say one of the things that we need to just do a better job is create awareness. When you talk to most government officials, maybe if they're not domiciled within the departments of social protection, they don't know anything about graduation. How much I would love, when we're talking about better, that graduation is a key plank of it. Because what happens is, you really miss out on those extreme poor when you come up with all these policies that really we don't think about how do we get these people out of extreme poverty so that they're in a place where they can be able to access credit, right? So really thinking about how do we create that awareness? How do we make that as a key strategy? How do we link that deliberately towards that? And I think some of the things we need to think about is including it in the policy. Omondi has also talked about resourcing. We've been around for a while, for 30 years, but I can tell you it's a drop in the bucket. It's graduation is not cheap. One of the things we did not explicitly mention here is it's a grant, right? So once we give it out, that money, then we have to look for more funding to be able to reach more households. So it is an expensive program, but as well, the question is, if we don't do this, what's the cost of not doing it, right? We've been seeing what has been happening recently in this country, and that's really being driven really by poverty. So we need to be thinking about this. How do we work? How do we strategically target people who are living in extreme poverty, make sure that they're heard, make sure that they are included as part of our strategy?
Thank you, Tadio. And that is quite important, especially when it comes to the financing and also the awareness of the same. Before I come to Sam, I know Sam would like to chime in before I come to Jane. Yes, please chime in.
I think the only thing I would want to add to what has been mentioned by Tadeo and Omondi is graduation is effective where there is economic opportunity and also where extreme poor people exist. And so for it to be successful, we need to address those preconditions. And then for it to be sustained, then we need to build a supportive ecosystem. Because even if we lift them out of extreme poverty, they are just a shock away from sliding back into that poverty. So we have to invest on other complementary services and referrals. For example, support through nutritional training, referral for lactating or expectant mothers to modern health facilities, provision of health services, sanitation and nutrition, and also building the market systems that will offer that supply and economic opportunities for them to sustain the enterprises that we support them to create. So it is a specific modeled approach, but which requires a lot of support and an ecosystem around it for it to be sustainable long term. In addition to the cost, which is something that we have been really fighting against, because people look at the cost invested, but they don't look at they look at the accounting cost, but they don't look at the economic cost, because what is the opportunity cost that we lose by not investing in graduation? It means that we have to budget for more and more of humanitarian or emergency assistance funds, as opposed to making people manage their own shocks and crises by themselves. So we need to look at it from a more broadened economic cost perspective than just the accounting cost of we put this much money, and you only give us these numbers.
Right. Thank you for that. I can see Mr. Kinyo would like to chime in on that, but let's bring it faster to Jane, and also Jane would also be keen to also hear from your take also on a policy point of view, but please go for it.
The one big challenge in the social sector is, and this is something maybe I say with a pinch of salt, especially to the economists seated in the room. The economist wants to see, if I give Jane 10 shillings, at the end of the day, how many shillings is Jane giving me back? In the social sector, that is not how it works. And I think that has been the biggest challenge in terms of budgeting for the social protection sector. So we need to start asking ourselves, how do we turn around the narrative of what kind of indicators we are coming up with when it comes to our social protection? The other thing that I want to really raise, which is also a challenge, is social protection to me is a sleeping duck or a sleeping giant. My PS keeps telling us the social protection sector behaves like a Fresian cow. A Fresian cow can give you 20 liters of milk in the morning, 20 in the evening, but it will not make noise. But a chicken will lay an egg of 10 shillings and everybody must know it has laid an egg. And I think as a sector, that is where we need to get to. Let's be the chicken that makes the noise for people to know what we are doing. Because let's look at it from this perspective. Tadeo and my colleague here, you've done graduation for so many years. How are we linking graduation to the Hustler Fund? Why are we having defaulters in the Hustler Fund? Because those we do not necessarily have to tie ourselves to graduating from poverty, but can we even make those people who are not poor live a bit higher and carry more people with them? Because the moment we put our heads, we are only concentrating on the poor. What happens to the missing middle we are talking about? And that missing middle is what is supposed to bring the change in terms of bringing down the poverty levels that we are seeing, because they will create jobs for others. So we need to start having that honest conversation in terms of how do we want to package ourselves in terms of advocacy to make people know what it is that we are doing. Because Tadeo and Sam, I will tell you for free, the only people who know there is a graduation project or program are the people in the social sector. You go outside the social sector, you talk of graduation, and they'll be asking you, oh,
what is it?
University graduation, putting on a gown, or what is this? They have no clue. So that's why I'm saying we must now start behaving like the chicken and make sure everybody knows we have laid this egg called graduation. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jane. And definitely also me, on my part, I identify as a chicken from today, and we'll make the necessary noise just also to tie in with what Tadeo is saying in terms of also making awareness. Thank you for that. I'd love to hear from Mr. Kinyo when it comes to the finance part, some of the challenges and shortcomings that we get in the UPG. Let's hear from you.
Thank you very much. And I think the elephant in the room is actually finances. Where do you get finances? It's not a cheap endeavor. It's a very expensive endeavor. And if you look at the cost drivers for UPG, is actually the TA, the grant component, and actually the pillars that support social protection like health, roads. Also, those are the main drivers of cost drivers of UPG. But then you ask yourself, how do you make UPG efficient, effective, equitable? And I think it's looking at the different finances and the different actors in the finance, I will call it finance sector, and look at the role of each. If you look at between 2006 to 2016, rural poverty was actually what was driving growth in Kenya. And it was actually, if you look at the policies then, we had the liberation of the economy, and we had borders everywhere. But if you look at it, it was actually M-Pesa that was driving poverty growth between 2007 and 2016. And it led to the growth of rural poverty by 2%. Just having an innovation, small innovation in M-Pesa, not expensive, but that liberated and included people in the rural area. They were included in the economic, fabric. So that small disruption is actually what we are looking for in this area. So what we are trying to do is work with government, especially. The government has very, very brainy people, like people who know things. It's just continue poking them until it comes out. And what we are trying to do is have a system with the government that you can demonstrate to them that this system can actually work. Finance this system for 5 years, prove to them that this system can work. Mm-hmm. Once the system has worked and the system is in place, now try to make them now start, financing that from their fiscal policy. Let them start, budgeting for 5% of the budget into poverty graduation. So you take your 5 years to build systems, and your next 5 years to make sure that now domestically the government has seen the importance of doing this and they're actually doing this. But beyond that is actually what is the role? That is the role of the development partners. Actually to demonstrate that it's possible to do this, and not only demonstrating to Kenya, but also demonstrating to the bigger global south that these things are actually possible, and we can learn from Kenya. So those are some of the things that we're trying to say. The second thing is what is the role of the private sector? Mm-hmm. I like it when I see Equity Bank and organizing these households that we are trying to graduate to, or to give them pathways out of poverty. We want we see them being organized into VSLAs and one cooperatives that are able to attract big corporate investors like Equity. Equity sees a business opportunity, investing in them, and then for it being a big business opportunity for Equity, it's also an opportunity for the people by raising their credit worthiness of these people. That is one thing. But also having group insurance, that if there's a disaster, one cooperative or a VSLA can easily go to an insurance company and get financing, such that in case of a shock, they're able to be compensated. So those are some of the financing that I think we need to look at and have this model consolidated and sell it to government. Not sell it to government, but actually show the government that it's actually doable, that this is actually what is called bottom-up transformation agenda. And once that is sold, I think it becomes easier for government to continue doing that and proving to them that this is actually what you are saying and it is doable. Thank you very much.
All right, fantastic. Well put. And you've really actually touched on how we should be thinking also going forward. I like what you brought out, especially when it comes to the disruption, and also how disruption can be able to just change the game as we look at it. I'd like to hear from each panelist on this particular point when it comes to, based on your own experiences, what lessons have you learned and what recommendations would you make for future implementations? I'd like to start with Mr. Otieno, because we'll start here because I know he is a man who is building something that will outlive him, all right? And let us hear from you, Mr. Otieno.
Thank you very much. Lessons on how to move this forward. I think the lessons that we have learned, particularly I think at CHASP, with regards to poverty graduation, in all fairness, like I mentioned, are very limited because we are very new into this. It's an area that we recently just picked up passion for. But I would say data. Right? The government is making a lot of improvements in terms of how to manage data for social assistance and social protection, and all these other programs with the establishment of the enhancing registry. That could be made much better. The ability for the enhancing registry to occasion updates the ability for the enhanced single registry to continuously take on populations that qualify for the program as they become eligible. I think that is very critical for the implementation of this program. So I think one big takeaway is the utilization of data, both in the implementation of this program, but most critically for the communication to policymakers. And I think that's exactly what David was talking about and what everyone was talking about, the chicken kind of thing, right? Yes. So for us to be able to make enough noise so as to influence improvement increase in domestic investment, and by domestic investment I mean government investment, definitely we must show them the data. We must demonstrate beyond doubt that this actually works. And I think as a sector, we both should agree that moving forward, that is something we really need to dedicate efforts and resources towards.
Thank you, Mr. Omondi. And definitely data is the new gold, as they say, and we need definitely their involvement from a wider scope. Thank you for that. Tadio, if you can be able to just touch on that, some from your experiences, what we can be able to make for the future implementations. Also, I know that you also have an inclination on innovation, but feel free to give us based on your experience.
Yeah, I think for me, first of all, I just want to be cognizant that and appreciative that the government is already taking this up, and Madam Jim and other government officials here can talk about, but there's already that piloting that's going on. But what I think we really need to do is, just to use her analogy, we need to generate public demand. Thinking about, especially like when cash transfer started, right? When FCDO and other partners were taking it up, well, government was not involved in it. But when they saw the success of it later on, it is part of the budget. And I don't think anybody would ever think of getting rid of cash transfers. There's just as much evidence, or if not more evidence, on the success of this Cash Plus program of graduation. So it is something that should be on the lips of every government official. When Omondi talked about county governments, when you talk to county governments, they have never heard about it. So really thinking about how do we generate that public demand? How do we integrate it into policy? How do we involve all the relevant departments, ministries in terms of this? We need to think about climate smart, we need to, in agriculture, we need to think about trade, we need to think about the role of counties. So really bringing all this together. But I think it's a journey, and I think I'm pretty optimistic. Maybe when celebrating the next 5 years, we'll be talking about graduation as on everybody's lips. Thanks.
Right, fantastic. Thank you for that, Tadio. And I like the way you've done the vision casting for Mr. Omondi. Thank you for that. Let us hear from Jane also.
Thank you very much. I think for us, the lessons learned is that we need to create a demand for data. We need to continue being innovative. And I know, like under the enhanced single registry, we are looking in the next phase of CHASP of coming up with an on-demand registration module where people can be able to update their data and make the ESR the one-stop shop for anybody wanting any data for poor and vulnerable households interventions. They are able to pull that from that particular ESR, because until we are able to have a centralized approach in terms of how we deal with the poverty issues, then you still have the fragmentation that we are seeing in the sector. And I'll give an example, like during the floods in Nairobi, you would go to a place like Motari and you find about 5-6 agencies giving assistance. But coming down to Mukuru, where they were also affected, there was virtually nobody. So if we had data for Madare, you could have said, these are the people, these are the numbers, this is where they are, these are the numbers in Mukuru, these are where they are. So looking at ESR, we are looking at enhancing that to ensure that anybody wanting to give interventions across the country, we are able to provide that data and also to constantly update that data and make the ESR the one-stop shop for everybody wanting data.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Jane. It is beautiful when you see the captains of industry speaking one particular language on this particular conversation. Sir, please, love to hear from you.
Yeah, for me, I would just summarize and say that we cannot overstate the problem. The problem statement is as clear as day and night. We have an urgent need to address the challenges of poverty, and we should never be tempted to normalize poverty based on our contextual experiences. Then number two, we have appreciated that it requires a holistic approach. So looking at graduation approach fitting within a socio-ecological model that appreciate interventions at the different levels. So doing that direct implementation, working directly with the concerned participants, but then also bimodally focusing on the system level change and the structures that need to be in place to support the compounded impact. So what are the policies that the government is having? What are the databases that we are using for reference? And then how do we then mobilize and influence supporting organizations like FCDO, like World Bank, to continue investing and prioritizing ultra-poverty graduation in their financing frameworks. And to my brother Modi, I would just say that these things are possible. I'm delighted to see a locally bred, locally founded organization reach the milestones that you've been able to achieve. Even for me as CEO for Boma, I'm very inspired to be leading an organization that was founded in Kenya just about 12 years ago, but then has grown in leaps and bounds to transcend the borders into Ethiopia, into Burkina Faso, into Uganda, into Cameroon. And so I can only say that the sky's the limit. You've defined your path, you've identified your niche, and let's just work together to create this change that we want to see.
Right. Thank you for that, Sam. Finally, Mr. Kinyua.
Thank you very much. And I think for me, I think the way forward is actually looking at building a coalition of partners, both locally and internationally, who look at poverty graduation from the different aspects, including development partners, the government, and the private sector. Each has a role to play. And if we can have this coalition of partners that is able to build a system for the government, that the government can internalize and use that to embed that into their budgeting and fiscal policy to implement poverty graduation at scale, then I think we'll have achieved achieved what we wanted. Because I think the whole economics of poverty graduation is actually making sure that every person is able to contribute to the economy and becomes a productive person in the society. So if we're able to do that through a coalition of partners, then I think we'll be somewhere. And congratulations, happy birthday.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mr. Kinyua, Sam, Jane, and also Tadeo and Mr. Omondi. We appreciate the input that you've been able to give us. I know some of us might have quite a number of burning questions. What we want to do is that we have a dinner that has been planned at the tail end of this particular program, and then we'll be able to have that dinner. We'll look at it like a fireside discussion where you can be able to have dinner with the panelists who are here, so that now you can be able to integrate and also have that particular conversation with them. Are we agreeable on that? All right, fantastic. Please, let's appreciate our panelists one more time with a round of applause. I'll just kindly request if they can remain standing for one group photo. Also, as we proceed to the next part of the program, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to also just give a token of appreciation individually to our panelists for being here, for their presence, and also for their insight. At this particular point in time, I'd like to call Ms. Judith Mwanake from Tana River County, Coordinator, CHASP Advisory. Is she here? If she can be able to come forward. Judith, thank you. As you come forward, the first token of appreciation would like to appreciate Mr. David Kinyua, Humanitarian Resilience and also Inclusion Lead for UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office. Let's appreciate Mr. Kinyua. Thank you for your insight. As we get that, thank you, Mr. Kinyua, for your patronage here, and we appreciate you. At this point, I'd like to call Mr. Mike Juma, Practice Associate and Garissa County Coordinator at CHASP Advisory. Please, if you'd be so kind, Mr. Mike Juma, to come forward to give the next Token of appreciation, this is to Mr. Sam Owele, CEO at Boma. Sam, thank you very much. It's appreciated, Sam. Thank you, Sam, for your wealth of wisdom and also for your contribution to the panel. We appreciate you. And at this point, I'd like to call Ms. Sylvia Gadhigia, Office and Administrative Assistant at CHASP. Thank you, Sylvia. I'd like to appreciate and acknowledge the one and only Jane Muyaga to come forward. Thank you. Let's appreciate Jane for the immense wealth of wisdom that you've been able to bring to this particular celebration and the conversation. At this point, I'd like to call Mr. Bishar Marsh from Ojira County, Coordinator, CHASP Advisory. Thank you for that. And for this, we'd like to appreciate Mr. Tadeo Morioki, Chief Government Relations Officer, Village Enterprise. Tadeo, welcome, welcome. Thank you, Mr. Tadeo. Token of appreciation to Mr. Tadeo, given by Mr. Bishar Marsh. Thank you, Mr. Bishar. And as we say, is it my fiancé? My Somali is also not too bad. Thank you for that. All right, at this point, I'd like to call Mr. Collins Kipto, Head of Finance and Administration, who will have the opportunity to give a token of appreciation to none other than the Global Director, CHASP Advisory, Mr. Omondi Otieno. Come receive from your people, all right? We definitely cannot overlook that. We appreciate you. Thank you for that. All right, thank you once again. For this particular celebration, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call a few executives to come on stage. Then we can be able to proceed from there. I would like to start with Ms. Lillian Kahindo, Senior Social Development Specialist at the World Bank. Please, let's appreciate her as she comes forward on stage. Please join us on stage. All right, and also I'd like to call Mr. David Kinyua once again. Please come and join us on stage. We have something excited lined up. There is a countdown coming up, and we want you to be part of that. And I'd also like to call upon Mr. Sam Owili to come on stage. Sam, join us on stage. Also, Mr. Tadeo Morioki, please come and join us on stage. And also, we want to have the presence of Ms. Shakira Kawaja Sukwon, founder and also a philanthropist. Is Ms. Shakira here? Please, if she can be able to come and join us on stage. Yes, please join us on stage. And also, I'd like to call upon Engineer Hussein Jirma, Deputy Director, Drought Resilience and also National Project Coordinator. Mr. Engineer Hussein Jirma, if he's here, please join us on stage. And also now finally, Mr. Omondi Otieno, please come and join us on stage together with, yes, come and join us on stage. Jane, please also just join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? Please, I'd request all of us if we can all rise to our feet. All of us, rise to our feet. Let us all rise to our feet. Fantastic. And I want to hear the buzz. I want to hear the energy in the room as we come and we celebrate CHASP at 5. Ladies and gentlemen, are we ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and let's put our hands together for CHASP at 5, Makofi Tabadali. Let's appreciate them. Let us have that one lovely photo as our executives are clapping and put it in there. Please, one more time, let's appreciate CHASP Art 5 with another round of applause. Thank you. Let's appreciate them with a round of applause. If you have something in your glass, glass of water, please just pour it in your glass. Make sure your glass has some water. It has some water. Make sure that you have something in your glass. Please, let us raise our glass. Let us raise our glass to success, to growing, to ideating, to implementing, and to making sure that we elevate in everything that we do. And we'll be back here for CHASP at 25 and also 50. Please, cheers and congratulations. Cheers to the person standing next to you. Cheers to the person standing next to you. We're celebrating coming this far, but what should we expect probably in the time to come?
It's a journey, most certainly. Not exactly sure that we'll get there, but we definitely will put in work to ensure we get there. And I'm looking at the amazing team to ensure that we work together to get us to this place I'm just about to mention. So a number of things that I possibly would like us to achieve within the next 5 years. Number one is a more established regional presence. So at the moment, we have had efforts moving into Rwanda. We definitely need to strengthen that a bit. Rwanda is, anyone who's worked in Kigali knows it's a different market altogether, but definitely we have footprints there already, and we hope that we will accelerate that. The second country is Somalia, in which we already have a registered presence, just like Rwanda. And that traction is picking up and picking up very well, right? And third is definitely Uganda, as you can see, and that equally, we have our eyes set on that. So a stronger regional presence is really where we want to go in the next 5 years. We realize that there is so much to be done in Kenya, and we will continue doing that. Hopefully this team continues to expand to accommodate all the work. But yes, we think there is every value in moving into some of those other countries. That's number one. Number two is in terms of investment in research. We would like to publish more. We would like to provide these industry players with the data that they require. Sometimes even when they don't know they need it, right? A lot of times what has happened is we have been hired to provide the data and paid to do it. But at this point, we would like to be a bit more proactive and then think ahead of the actors in the sector and figure out the nature of data required to move the sector forward. And we, out of our own investments, commission our own studies to be able to get there. I think that is definitely something you will see more. You will see a lot of white papers and a lot of position papers and a lot of published documents coming from us. Second. The third is internally. I think internally as an organization, like I said, sometimes when you grow at a certain pace, your systems don't adjust as fast. We would like to be a healthier place to work than we already are. We would like to be an organization where we invest a lot more in the team, and we give the team leverage to grow as much as they can, and it's work. We are somewhere already, but definitely stays as work in progress, because we only think that I think that it's only by investing in a healthier team that we should definitely be able to move faster. Finally, is in terms of just affirming or strengthening rather our place in the social protection sector. What happens is that we feel we have contributed immensely. There is still quite room for us to continue contributing. One of the things that we are doing now is we are making that very slow transition, and I wouldn't even call it transition, it's a cohabiting of continuing to provide technical assistance, while at the same time picking up on implementation. It's something that we started doing this year and which we are extremely, extremely excited about. And in the room, I see my partners, BOMA, VE, SRC, I think GenCAD and N are not here, possibly. But yes, so that is one of those coalitions of implementation that we have built, and we certainly are looking into more of those into the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's appreciate Mr. Omondi for that insight. Now we want to go to this other part of the program where we want to celebrate long-standing and also outstanding service awards to CHASP Advisory staff. They have definitely put in the work and we'd like to celebrate them. At this particular point in time, I would like to call upon Mr. Naukot Boniface, Manager Operations of Kenya, if you'd be so kind as to come forward. We want you to have the privilege and the honor of handing out the first appreciation. If you'd be so kind as to come. Thank you so much, Boniface. And this first award goes to the head of practice, none other than Mr. Omole Opinya. Let's appreciate him as he comes forward. Congratulations. This is the long-standing and also outstanding service awards. Thank you. Congratulations, Mr. Opinya. Asante sana. Thank you for that. All right. Great. Great. At this point, I'd like to call upon Ms. Lillian Kahindo, Senior Social Development Specialist at the World Bank. We want you to have the privilege of handing out the next award. And this appreciation goes to none other than the Head of Finance and Administration at CHASP. Please help me appreciate Mr. Collins Kipto. Congratulations. Thank you for your outstanding service. Thank you, Lillian. All right, fantastic. The next award I'd like to call upon Blandina Bobson, Director of Programs for Oxfam. Glad to have you, Blandina. Thank you very much. And this next award goes to the Practice Manager, Business Development. Help me appreciate Mr. Derek B. Otieno as he comes forward, Mr. Otieno. The Dapper Brother, as we call him. Thank you very much. As you receive this award, we're glad and honored for your outstanding service. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Blandina. And now I'd like to call upon Miss Shakira Kawanja, Sakwon founder and also philanthropist, to come forward. This will go to the Practice Associate Jorama Oruko. Thank you for your outstanding service. We are glad and honored to have you here, and also congratulations, Mr. Oruko. Thank you, Ms. Shakira. And now I'd like to call upon Mr. Thomas Marwa, partner at Lomac Partners. All right, let's appreciate Mr. Marwa as he comes forward. Thank you for having the opportunity to come and hand out the next long-standing and outstanding service award. This one goes to none other than my namesake, Mr. Ian Gishohi, IT support. Ian, congratulations and thank you for your service. We would like to appreciate you. May you continue the good and fantastic dedication of support that you are doing. Thank you, Ian, and also thank you, Mr. Marwa. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the final award will be given by Ms. Winnie Mwasiaji, National Social Protection Specialist. And this one will be given to the practice manager. Will be awarded in absentia, and her award will be received by Ms. Leah Mugo, HR Specialist. This was to go to Ms. Mabel Serem. Let's appreciate Mabel Serem in absentia, but on her behalf, we have Leah Mugo. Thank you very much. I'd like to call all the ones who have the awards. Please, let's all come here and line up, all of us. We want to take one lovely group photo. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Let us appreciate them with a round of applause. Congratulations.
Oh, no, no, no.
All right. Thank you very much. Congratulations. All right, fantastic. Thank you. Hiyo confetti ni ya maandamano. All right. So I'd like to call, we'd like to get to the vote of thanks. The confetti imetoka maandamano. Just come. All right. Thank you. Welcome. We're glad to have you. Looking forward. Thank you.
I have to take a moment. That was a lot. Anyway, good evening, everyone, once again. So I think I would like to start by putting it the way Omondi would say it. We are extremely, extremely delighted about today and about and for your presence today. So as I have been introduced earlier on, my name is Leah Mugo, HR at CHASP Advisory, and I'm greatly honored to be working with this team. I would like to start by thanking the Almighty God for blessing us with this wonderful day and guiding us through the preparation of this event. It's been a journey filled with hard work and dedication, and His grace has been our cornerstone. A heartfelt thank you to our guest of honor, Mr. Joseph Mogosi Motari, who was here earlier on, the PS for the State Department of Social Protection, for gracing us with his presence today, despite his busy schedule. We are very grateful. To our esteemed keynote speakers, panelists and guests, your participation and insights are truly invaluable, and we are honored by your presence. Special gratitude goes to our global director, our global director and founder, Mr. Omondi Otieno, whose visionary leadership and unwavering support have been crucial to our journey. Thank you very much. I extend a big thank you to the entire CHASP Advisory team and family. Your dedication to our mission has shaped us into the community we are today, a true family. Sincere appreciation to the management of Radisson Blu for hosting our event, for allowing us to host our event at their esteemed venue, and a special shout out to our talented baker, Dear Sugar, for the delightful cake they've prepared for us. I also want to acknowledge our moderator, Ian Mwiruri, for skillfully guiding our discussions today. He's done a very good job. Don't you all agree? Yeah. Lastly, I want to thank our DJ, Smurf. Yeah. Yeah, DJ Smurf. The videography and photography team, the Creative Lab Africa, for capturing the essence of this special day. Thank you all for being here and for your ongoing support. I'm sure, as is the case with everyone here, we wish CHASP Advisory many more years of growth and success. God bless you all.
And yes, let's appreciate Leah for a fantastic job. All right, let's put our hands together as we celebrate CHASP at 5. Makofi tafadhali. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We appreciate you, Asante Sana. Our executives, we can have our seats. We can have our seats right now. Thank you for that. Once again, we'd like to request all of us if we can rise to our feet as per custom. Stand behind your seat, put it down under the seat, under the table, and let us all face forward. All right, and I want you to put up your hands like this, and I want you to wiggle your fingers, and I want you to pump your hands up like this. Ladies in the room, feel free to just move the waist slightly, all right? Not too hard. We have executives in the house, all right? And then I want you to stretch your left hand forward. Stretch your right hand. Take it to the shoulder, to the waist, to the waist, and turn to your right. Now we are facing this side. All right, fantastic. CHASP to the world. Stretch your left, then right. To the shoulder, to the shoulder, to the waist, to the waist. Another right turn. Now we are facing DJ Smurf. All right, stretch your left, the right, to the shoulder, to the shoulder, to the waist, the waist. And now we are turning another right turn and stretch your left, the right, to the shoulder, to the shoulder, to the waist, and turn. Ladies and gentlemen, they say it's best done with what? Music 100%. DJ Smurf, give us that song. Put your hands up there. Wiggle those fingers. To success, to ideating, building, growing, social policy and public health options. All right, pump it up. 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 Right, let's go. The left, the right, the shoulder to the waist. And turn the economy to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn to kiss over to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn the economy to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn one more time to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn to kiss over to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn to kiss over to the left, the right, the shoulder to the waist, and turn economy to the left, the right, the shoulder, the waist, and turn, hold it down, point your shoe to the sky, 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 point your shoe to the sky, your shoe to the sky, your shoe to the sky, point your shoe to the sky. Thank you, DJ Smurf. Give a high five to the person standing next to you and tell them, I can do this as a side hustle. Oh, yes. Innovation, Tadio, innovation. All right, fantastic. Now, before we all sit down, we would love to take a group photo with everyone in this room. This is a photo we shall look back 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and say we started here and now we are here. Please, ladies and gentlemen, come to the stage, come to the stage, come to the stage. In 3, 2, 1, say success. 3, 2, 1, say CHASP Advisory.